The state of California. The U.S. Geological Survey has recorded a series of micro-earthquakes along the southern segment of the San Andreas Fault, confirming scientists' fears that the tectonic system is entering an extreme stress phase. According to the latest observations, activity indicators are identical to those that preceded catastrophic earthquakes in the past. When this energy is released, a magnitude 8 earthquake will affect a territory with a population exceeding 18 million people. But this is not the only threat. In June 2024, a shocking discovery was made. Along the U.S. West Coast stretches an underwater fault nearly 1,000 kilometers long, capable of causing a magnitude 9 earthquake and tsunami as high as a 9-story building. This is not a question of if, this is a question of when, warn scientists from Italy's National Institute of Geophysics. According to their estimates, the earthquake could occur as early as this year. What is actually happening there? And why is the main attention focused precisely on the state of California? This region is a true economic giant. Here are located Silicon Valley, Hollywood, and key aerospace enterprises. California's gross product is about $2.7 trillion, more than many powerful countries in the world. But in the depths of this prosperous state lurks a threat capable of wiping out civilization's many years of achievements. Seismologists call this danger the Big One. We're talking about an earthquake that could become the most destructive in the region's history. What is the cause of this inevitable threat? In California, the Pacific and North American lithospheric plates converge, forming the San Andreas Fault. Recent studies have revealed alarming data. Scientists discovered unique seismic activity indicating that a strong earthquake could occur as early as this year. The Parkfield area in central California causes particular alarm. A section of the San Andreas Fault where, on average, an earthquake of magnitude 6 or higher occurs every 22 years. The last such earthquake happened in 2004, and now the region is entering the final phase of its quiet period. This scenario becomes even more frightening when you remember the recent earthquake that occurred in California and triggered a tsunami warning for more than 5 million residents. Although it passed without catastrophe, this event served as a harsh reminder of what these beautiful skyscrapers stand on. The history of the San Andreas Fault is intertwined with the history of California itself. This giant crack in the Earth's crust is the most famous tectonic formation in the region and possibly in all of the United States. The fault got its name from the San Andreas Valley, which was discovered and named by geologist Andrew Lawson in 1895. The fault stretches from Cape Mendocino in the north to the Mexican border in the south, crossing all of California and passing dangerously close to the state's largest cities. But what makes San Andreas so dangerous? The Pacific Plate shifts in a northwesterly direction relative to the North American Plate at a speed of approximately 2 to 3 cm per year. This may seem insignificant, but over a century, colossal stress accumulates, which periodically discharges in the form of earthquakes. San Andreas does not represent a single continuous line. It is divided into segments, each with its own character and history of activity. The southern and central segments are considered the most dangerous. The central segment, including the Parkfield area, is distinguished by regular earthquakes of moderate strength occurring approximately once every 22 years. The southern segment of the fault, passing near Los Angeles, causes the greatest concern. Major earthquakes haven't occurred here for about 300 years, which means the accumulation of enormous amounts of energy that could be released at any moment. If you think that the San Andreas Fault is something mythical and blown out of proportion by Hollywood screenwriters, you are mistaken. The San Andreas Fault has already left a notable mark in California's history. The most destructive earthquake associated with it occurred in 1906 in San Francisco. This catastrophic event began at 5 a.m. on April 18th. The first shock woke the city, and the subsequent 60 seconds turned it into ruins. According to modern seismologists' estimates, the earthquake's magnitude was about 8. The destruction was colossal. 80% of the city was destroyed, mainly due to fires that broke out after the earthquake and raged for several days. The water system was damaged, making firefighting difficult. San Francisco's reconstruction took years, but the city was rebuilt with the new danger in mind. This earthquake became a turning point in American seismology history, beginning research in this field. Another significant earthquake associated with the San Andreas Fault occurred on October 17, 1989. It's known as the Loma Prieta earthquake, as its epicenter was in the Santa Cruz Mountains. The magnitude was 6.9, and it occurred during the third game of the World Series between the San Francisco Giants and Oakland Athletics, leading to live television coverage of its consequences. The earthquake lasted only 15 seconds, but led to significant destruction. The 1989 earthquake once again emphasized the danger of the San Andreas Fault and led to stricter building codes and regulations in seismically hazardous areas of California. But not only the San Andreas Fault itself poses a danger. In California, there exists an entire network of smaller faults connected to it. One of them is the Hayward Fault, which stretches 80 kilometers along San Francisco Bay and crosses such densely populated areas as Oakland and Berkeley. According to scientists, a strong earthquake on this fault could lead to even more destructive consequences than the 1906 earthquake due to the region's greater population density. When an earthquake occurs, millions of tons of earth shift in a matter of seconds. But preparation for this dangerous event takes years, decades, sometimes centuries. Right now, seismologists are recording numerous alarming signals indicating that the San Andreas Fault is preparing for a powerful release of accumulated energy. The latest research published in March 2025 revealed unique seismic activity in the Parkfield area, a segment of the San Andreas Fault that has historically been distinguished by regular earthquakes. Luca Malanini, director of research at Italy's National Institute of Geophysics, discovered similar patterns in seismic waves to those observed before the 2004 earthquake. Seismologists noticed changes in the character of high-frequency and low-frequency wave propagation, and unusual sounds coming from underground in the fault area. These anomalies indicate active fracturing in the depths, which speaks to mounting stress. "We are waiting," the Italian expert laconically stated, commenting on the research results. Although predicting the exact date of the next earthquake is impossible, the scientist believes it will occur within the coming year, possibly even months. A particularly alarming signal was the recent magnitude 4.8 earthquake in the New York area, the strongest since the late 19th century. Although it occurred on the opposite coast and is not directly connected to the San Andreas Fault, this event emphasizes growing tectonic activity throughout the United States. But that's not all. In the shadow of the more famous San Andreas Fault lurks a geological giant capable of causing a catastrophe that will eclipse any earthquake in North American history. The Cascadia Subduction Zone, an underwater fault stretching from Canada's Vancouver Island to Northern California. What makes this zone so dangerous? New research shows that this zone's structure is much more complex than previously thought. The history of the Cascadia Subduction Zone confirms its destructive potential. The last powerful earthquake here occurred on January 26, 1700. Its magnitude, according to modern seismologists' estimates, was about 9. This is comparable to the Great Japanese Earthquake of 2011, which caused a tsunami and the Fukushima nuclear disaster. Interestingly, we know about the 1700 earthquake not from American sources, but from Japanese chronicles, which recorded a wave that arrived without an earthquake in Japan. Computer modeling of a potential earthquake in the Cascadia Subduction Zone paints a terrifying picture. If accumulated energy is released in all 4 segments simultaneously, this could lead to an earthquake with a magnitude exceeding 9. Such an event would cause destruction over a 100-kilometer area along the coast, including major cities like Portland, Seattle, and Vancouver. Particularly alarming is the fact that over recent decades, the U.S. Pacific coast has become much more densely populated. According to experts' estimates, more than 1,000 people are located just in the direct flooding zone, and millions more could suffer from the catastrophe's secondary consequences. The situation is worsened by infrastructure's insufficient preparedness for such a large-scale disaster. According to research, about 75% of buildings in the Cascadia area cannot withstand a magnitude 9 earthquake. In case of strong tremors, about 1 million homes and 15 bridges in the Portland area will collapse. The earthquake's power is only the beginning of the catastrophe. What happens in the subsequent hours, days, and weeks can have equally destructive consequences. Let's imagine what the day after such an event might look like on the US West Coast. The first thing residents of coastal areas will face after the earthquake is a tsunami. Between the first tremors and the wave's arrival, people will have 10 to 30 minutes depending on location. This time is catastrophically insufficient for full evacuation of densely populated coastal territories. A tsunami wave can reach heights from 6 to 30 meters, depending on the shore's terrain. When such a mass of water moves at 800 km/h, resisting it is impossible. After the water recedes, coastal areas will remain flooded for hours or even days. Seawater will destroy communications, electrical systems, and roads. Returning back, it will carry away thousands of tons of debris and hazardous materials, leading to an ecological catastrophe on the coast. But even far from the coast, the earthquake's consequences will be destructive. If we're talking about an event of magnitude 7.8 or higher, multi-story buildings, bridges, dams, roads, and airports will be the first to suffer. Emergency services will be overloaded, and many will have to wait for help for several days. Gas pipeline ruptures pose particular danger, as they can lead to explosions and fires. After the 1906 San Francisco earthquake, fires caused by gas line damage were responsible for most of the destruction. Modern cities, with their dense construction and large amounts of combustible materials, present an ideal environment for fire development. The ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach are especially vulnerable. About a quarter of all cargo delivered to the USA by water passes through them. If these ports are out of commission for weeks or months, this will cause serious disruptions in supply chains throughout the country. The economic consequences of such a catastrophe are hard to overestimate. In the long term, a major earthquake could lead to economic recession on a national scale. Insurance companies will suffer enormous losses, affecting the financial sector. Infrastructure restoration will require massive government investments, which could increase the budget deficit. Social consequences will also be significant. Thousands of people will be left homeless, creating a humanitarian crisis. Healthcare systems, already overloaded with large numbers of victims, will face additional problems due to shortages of medications, equipment, and personnel. Psychological trauma received during the catastrophe will be felt for years. Fear of earthquake repetition, loss of loved ones, material losses, all this will lead to increased psychological problems. Despite all threats, millions of people continue to live in seismically hazardous zones of the USA. The first line of defense against earthquakes is building codes and regulations. California has one of the world's strictest standards. Modern buildings are designed to withstand strong tremors without collapse. They are equipped with flexible connections, shock-absorbing foundations, and other solutions that allow absorption of earthquake energy. However, many buildings were constructed before modern standards were introduced. For example, in Los Angeles, about 13,500 buildings built before the mid-1970s are considered particularly vulnerable. The second important component of safety is early warning systems. California operates the Shake Alert system, which uses a network of seismographs to detect initial, less destructive earthquake waves and sends warnings before more powerful waves arrive. This gives people several seconds or even minutes to take protective measures. But these warning systems cannot predict earthquakes in advance. They only react to events that have already begun. Special attention is paid to tsunami preparedness in coastal regions. The California Geological Survey has developed maps of tsunami dangerous zones that residents can use to better understand risk levels. This shows that scientists' new data has begun to be taken seriously, though not by everyone. Meanwhile, regions in the Cascadia Zone in the northern USA are not taking serious steps to prepare the population for the approaching catastrophe. Hotel owners and businesses are not required to train employees in evacuation rules, and energy facilities, hospitals, and nursing homes are allowed to be built in flood zones. But despite all these alarming forecasts, life in seismically hazardous zones continues. People are attracted by the climate, economic opportunities, and natural beauty. Many simply don't think about everyday risks, hoping that catastrophe will occur not in their lifetime. The U.S. West Coast is under continuous stress. Scientists no longer ask if, They say when exactly the next catastrophe will occur. The faults have accumulated energy over centuries. Like a tight spring that has been compressed too long, a force will emerge that is capable of changing North America's landscape forever.